You know one thing you don't have to do if something's objectively bad? Tell people that it's bad. If something is going to be awful, it's just going to be awful. You don't have to tell people that it is. It should come as no surprise to you guys that this entire business model that these guys have is catastrophizing everything. AstroTurfing it, making you think that it's the worst thing ever well before it actually comes out. They don't want to be the one person that doesn't want to go to the party because they say the party is awful and they're going to sit home alone. They need everybody else to know that the party is going to be awful, because then they can also have everyone sitting around them going, you were right, this party that we never went to, this party that we never attended, this party where we never talked to the people that had a good time, that party was awful. It sucked. Because they don't want to be the one person that isn't participating in whatever the fun thing is. So they need other people to feel the same way. And that is the business model that these guys have, is predicting failure. And they're not even good at that. They're not even good at that in itself. And they pick and choose what that metric is. Sometimes it's money. Sometimes it's fan reception. Sometimes it's the critic reception. Sometimes it's a ranking on a trailer. You never know what that metric is going to be with these guys. But the truth is, if something is going to be bad, if it's going to be objectively bad, like it's just a failure in all accounts, AstroTurfing isn't necessary. You don't have to sit around spending weeks and months and years telling people that something is going to be bad, because they're going to go and see it and they're going to objectively see that it's bad. They're going to have a bad time. They're going to come out of it and they're going to say it sucked, and it's going to end up being a massive failure without your help at all. You don't have to do anything. It's like if there's a restaurant where the food sucks, you might mention to a friend that the food sucks, but you're not going to go on a full-on campaign to tell people the food sucks if it actually sucks, because eventually people will stop eating there and the restaurant will go out of business because people will determine that it's bad on their own. They don't need a false reality where they are told something is going to be bad because someone else doesn't like it. They don't need that. They don't need artificial downvotes on a trailer to be told that something is going to be bad. They don't need a massive bot campaign to negatively review something to tell them that it's going to be bad. If it is objectively bad, and if it's 100% just going to be awful, none of those things are necessary. But they're reinforcements. They're reinforcements in order to continue the behavior that these guys do online, their business model online, which is to make everything a catastrophe. It all has to be the worst thing. It has to be outrage. It has to be a meltdown. It has to be, this is what these guys are selling. You guys ask me all the time when I call them grifters and scammers, what are they selling? They're selling outrage. They're selling anger. They're selling catastrophe. And they do it really well. And they're not victims of anything. This is why when Nerdrotic and a lot of these guys are going after companies for doing things to them, please explain to me how they have he has the largest fandom podcast on YouTube. You guys love to remind me about how many subs he has, how many followers he has, all these things. If all of these things are true, if they're objective truths, that he has X amount of followers that is more than mine, he has X amount of more views than mine and several other channels or whatever, then they are not victims of anything. They're not victims. Going after groups that are marginalized, groups that historically have had issues and problems and victimization from people that are not victims in any stretch of the imagination is a business model. This is them using this as a business model. There is no actual culture war. You see Nerdrotic on streams like Piers Morgan, and the minute he gets pushback from anybody, which is why he doesn't talk to people like me, he doesn't talk to people like me and other channels like me. He doesn't do it because he has no real answers. There is a script. There is a set amount of things that they're willing to say about these movies and TV shows, and they stay on script. Even if you go to their live streams, it is very curated. I know they want you to believe that it's 100% organic. It's not. They have talking points that they know. They don't have to read the script anymore. They know it. They've been doing it for years. Like here, this one. Oddly enough, he's mad that the Marvel Studios account used the word iconic to promote this when they've used it for other things. They used it with Agatha. They've used it to promote Agatha. They've used it for other actors in the past. Iconic is now a slang term that people use as endearment. You would say, like, I went to the concert and the concert was iconic. It doesn't mean literal icon status. You can go back 2 or 3 years and see that the word has changed over time. You can argue about that somewhere else. That's another conversation to be had. The point is here it's being used in a way to attach to language being used by an age demographic that is not Gary, not Nerdrotic. So it doesn't surprise me that he totally misses the mark in his attack on the show. Heroes do not aspire to be iconic, villains do. We're done with the hashtag MCU, but Disney Marvel is not. Because you don't want it to be. You actually don't want Disney or Marvel to be done with the MCU. You don't want them to be done with DEIA. You don't want them to be done with diversity at all. You don't want them to be done with any of this stuff because you rely on it. And the reason why they're going so hard on Ironheart right now is you can look on the horizon. There's not a lot left for them. Look at the movies and TV shows that are coming out. We don't even have to go over them here. Look at them. There's not a lot left for these guys. There's not. This is why they're going so hard on a show that they call insignificant, a show that they say is DOA. It's dead on arrival, but they can't stop talking about it. If it's dead on arrival, why are you talking about it? It's going to be bad. Why are you saying all these things? Why do you need to convince us that it's going to be bad? Why do you have to remind us that it's going to be bad? Because this is the last TV show attached to Marvel from that old slate of stuff back during Phase 4 when they were still being very experimental with the stuff they're doing. If the show is going to be bad because of its quality, which I doubt that, it's a Ryan Coogler produced show, so I don't think the quality is going to be bad. You might not like it, but I don't think it's going to be because the quality is bad. Maybe you don't like the story, maybe you don't like the character, and you end up not liking the show for that reason after you've seen it. But if all those things are true, then none of this is necessary. They could literally ignore it and it would go away. But they have a vested interest in this. And I'm going to keep saying this over and over and over again, because this is why I do what I do, to remind you guys that these folks, their channels are predicated on astroturfing stuff in a fake culture war that they don't care if they win or lose. Actually, they would benefit more if they lost. They would make more money if they lost. They would make more money if they got a couple of highs here and there. But then Marvel and Disney and Star Wars and Warner Brothers and Amazon kept putting out diverse content. They would win because winning to them is lining their pockets with money. That's why they are so heavily invested in this. There's no other reason. There's no other reason to go so hard on something if it is going to be objectively bad. This whole like sky is falling catastrophe shit that they do has a lot of people completely brainwashed. And again, these guys are not victims. And the worst part about all of this, the worst part is all of this is rinse and repeat for their viewers. All of this is rinse and repeat for their guys, because it's like eating something, num, 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 and then shitting it out. It's all rinse and repeat for them. But all of the people in the communities that these guys go after have to deal with it over and over and over and over again. And then these are the same guys that say mental health causes this, that, and the other, being indoctrinated by stuff. Well, if you guys are constantly going after people and beating them down and talking shit about them in their communities, how is that any different than the indoctrination of movies and TV shows that these guys complain about? There is no difference. But they don't want you to look at it that way. They don't want you to see it that way because they need the grift machine to keep running. They need the keys to stay in the car, and they need the engine to stay on. They need the lights to stay on. They have to have this happening. And they're going really hard on this because they know this is one of the last things that they have. This is one of the last ones. After Ironheart, we have Fantastic Four. They're probably going to go hard on the Shalabal Silver Surfer because they started that a little bit. But if that movie ends up being good, they're still going to tell you it's bad because they have a reason to. So I don't think they're ever going to change their opinion. I would be actually shocked if the majority of them say the movie is good, regardless of Silver Surfer, because they have to get that money in there. Because after that, we have the 2 Avengers movies. And we see there's a lack of women announced in that first Avengers film, Doomsday. So the MCU thing is not going to work for that because there's not a lot of women that have been announced for that movie. Other than that, we don't have a lot from Disney and Star Wars and all these companies. So they're trying really hard. I am very curious to see how these channels are going to go, like in terms of what their content's going to be, once things are that thin. Are they going to go after video games exclusively? Are they going to go at, what are they going to go after? I have no idea. But I do want to say that, Gary, you are absolutely right. I agree with you. Villains are iconic. You're right. Villains are absolutely Iconic Gary.